Okay, that's it. Kishnava gonna kakyo. Dawe nistamina gana na sunatna kape tagote ekota. Na zoomi ka mato ya pachichikanek. Ntape kishnama goshi ekniyo when I thank you guys all for coming tonight, coming to join us to come and learn some more Cree. So of course, if you haven't been able to join our last two sessions, Darian, I check out the siga something. Ego nihio gishkana magio omani ego gishkana magan. My name is Darian Achkate, and I'm a Cree teacher and also a student still. Well, always learning. So, and I'm gonna be teaching you guys some basic Creole, like we said, the next few weeks. If you've been here from the beginning, that's perfect. So we're just gonna kind of pick up a little bit off of what we were doing last week, because we were spending lots of time on the numbers, because yeah, numbers in Cree, it can get a little bit lengthy. Can get having to work with numbers is sometimes fun, sometimes not. It can get a little bit confusing. But what I want to do now is kind of bounce off of that same slideshow that we were doing last week, just for a little bit here at the beginning before we start. But before we even start that, I want to make sure that we have everybody I'm hoping everybody will be able to get a chance to introduce themselves in the Hioewin. But with each week, I'm going to be adding a new sentence, or I want you guys to say something new. So far, I think we've said, our names, Nitsikasun. So when you want to say, my name is, if you are trying to introduce yourself in Nihiwewin, in the Cree language, this is what you would say, for example, Darian Nitsikasun. Darian Nitsikasun. My name is Darian. Next, I want to try and say my last name. To say our last name, everybody say this with me. Say Nitaspikasun. Nitaspikasun. So they do sound similar. They Nitsikasun, my name is. Nitaspikasun, my last name is. And the third one that I want to try say, everybody repeat, everybody say Kayate Ochinia. Kayate Ochinia. I don't have the phonetics on there. That's my fault. It's like saying Kayate Ochinia. So for me, I would say, if I was to say this whole thing introducing myself, I would say Darian Nitsikasun, Achkate Nitaspikasun, Kausis Kayate Ochinia. My name is Darian. My last name is Achkate, and I originally come from the Kausis First Nation. So I'm gonna I'll call on maybe about a little bit people here, just so that we can have some time to practice this. Let's see. April, Mate Wichahin. I want you to try say this. Introduce yourself using these three sentences right here.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. April Nitsi Kasan. Mearsman Nitaspeak Kasan. Originally from Alberta. I can't see it. Kayash.
Say Kayate.
Kayate.
Ochinia.
Ochinia.
Again, try to say Kayate Ochinia.
Kayate Ochinia.
There we go. Perfect. Alberta. That's good.
Originally, yes.
Originally, yeah. Oh, look at this deadly. Mahikan. I want you to try introduce yourself. Mahikan. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Maikan Nitsikasun, Brass Nitaspikasun, Wasquisipi Kayate Ochinia.
Wasquisipi Kochikia.
Eha.
Birch River, eh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that way. Nice. It's good to see. That's cool. So your real name, your first name, Mahikan, that's your real name, yeah?
Well, that's my spirit name, but
Oh, that's deadly. Yeah, because I have a
That's
cousin
what-
named Aikan, so I wasn't sure if that was him or not. But welcome to wow, it's nice to see somebody. Wasquisi Pico Che from Birch River coming. So good Cree speakers up there. How now we'll ask one more. Spencer, I want you to introduce yourself, Spencer. Tamskak using these 3 sentences here.
Spencer Nitsi Kashan, the Lorm Nita Speak Kasan. Houses, Kayate Ochinia.
Oh, there we go. Real deadly. Perfect, man. That was good. There you go. Spencer's my cousin, so that's why I seen his name right away. So, so those are the 3 questions we're gonna look at real quick. We're gonna try to do this maybe for the first 5 minutes, maybe the first little while at the beginning of every class, but it'll get long because you see we have 2 more that we're gonna be adding on in the next, 2 weeks. So next week we're gonna be adding on this one. Nigi Peopagan, I was raised or I grew up, and then Megwachnuigan, I currently live. This is where I'm living right now. So by the end of this, like I said, throughout the 10 weeks, we're going to always be practicing. We're always going to be practicing this document. So by the end of it, I'm hoping everybody has a good introduction of themselves. It's always good to know how to do this in the language. Say your name, where you're from, your last name, where you live right now, maybe where you were raised, and so on. So I want to make sure that by the end of the 10 weeks, try and make sure everybody has a chance to say this. Now we're going to move on into, I want to quickly do a run through of what we're kind of doing last week. Last week, we were talking about numbers and age. We didn't really get to months because we doing lots of stuff with the numbers, and I was helping people understand the numbers and trying to make sure that we get a good understanding of how numbers work in the Hiue. So if you were here last week, that's good. If not, we have this document. The organizers usually send out all the documents or slideshows and such that I give out. So you'll be able to find this exact slideshow on the emails that were given to you just for review. But I want to kind of skip through all the numbers because I don't want to be spending the whole class doing that again. We already did that. More so, I want to start talking about the months in the Hiwe for a little bit, maybe about 15, 20 minutes. I'll run through this. The months in the Hiwe, see, they all deal with the lunar cycle. They all deal with the moon, the type of moon that's happening within that specific month. This is why I'm going to actually go to the slideshow. Should have did that. There we go. This is why when we are saying the months in the Hiwe, you'll always see that the word P-sim, which means the moon or the sun. All the time, for every day of every month in the Hiwe, you'll always see that word P-sim in the word. So for example, this month is October. We call the month of October Pimahau P-sim. So everybody say that, Pimahau P-sim. So that's Pimahau P-sim, the month of October. And it literally means like the migrating moon. This is usually when, all the birds start to flock away, but more so this is talking about the geese. We start to see less and less of them. They start to fly away, go south, they go somewhere warmer. Pimahaupi, the migrating moon. So we'll look at how all the different months and how they are said in the Hioi in all this next slide. But you'll see that each month will have a different word or meaning with the word P-sim added on to the end. So that P-sim is always going to be part of the month. So for example, here's a list of all the months that we have in the Hiue. So like I said, each month speaks about a specific happening or an event that occurs within that time, as well as always recognizing that lunar cycle. So for example, January, everybody say Kasei Sim. So Kasei Sim means the great moon. It's the first big moon of the new year. It's the great moon. It's the very first one. That's what that kind of translates out. And you'll see that in January, that moon, Kasei Sim, it's big. It's like it's big. It's usually very, very big. Kasei Sim. So that's again why we call it the great moon. It's the very first big moon that happens after the new year. For February, again, everybody say Mikazupi sim. Mikasupi sim. Sorry, my mom's res dog is just going hard over. Mikasupi sim means the eagle moon. And it's called the eagle moon because in Mikasupi sim, February, this is usually when you'll see the eagles start to really flying really high up in the sky, hunting. This is when they start to come out more and hunt more. Mikasupi sim. They're usually quiet within, when it gets cold, like November, December, January. In February, that's when you'll start to see the eagles really high up in the sky. They'll be flying in circles, they'll be flying around as they're hunting, as they're coming back out for the new year. Mikasupi sim, the eagle moon. March. Again, everybody kakeo ito oma. Niskapi sim. Niskapi sim. So Niskapi sim means the goose moon. Again, this is when the geese, you start to see them start flying back. So they might come back in small flocks at first. Usually in March, more so like the middle or end of March is when you'll start to see the geese come flying around and honking around in the air. Niskapi sim, the goose moon. Everybody say Ayigapi sim. Ayigapi sim. Meaning the frog moon or April. And we call it the frog moon is because this is when the frogs start to come out of, I don't know, I think they do hibernate, but I know for sure some frogs, they actually like freeze themselves in ponds over the winter. And when they melt, they just wake up from their sleep. Then some frogs will like deliberately go into a pond and be frozen for those winter months. And as they thaw, some of them I've seen what they wake up basically, and that's what's happening here. Sim is when we start to see the frogs coming back and when they start to kind of come out of their hibernation. I don't want to call it hibernation because I don't think it is hibernation. They just freeze themselves. But sim, the frog moon. So now let's see, I want some people in the urban office to say this. I know there's people in the urban office that are just wanting to speak. So Cow's urban office, are you there?
We are.
Okay, now is my auntie Sharon in there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, say this with me, Sharon. Say Kasepi sim,
Kasepism.
Migasupi sim,
Mikasupism.
Niskapi sim,
Niskapism.
Ayigapi sim.
Aikapism.
Aha, and one more person. Who else is there with you guys?
Jeannie is.
Jeannie, okay. Say this with me, Jeannie. Say Kasepi sim,
Kasepism.
Migasupi sim,
Mikasupism.
Niskapi sim,
Niskapism.
Ayigapi sim.
Aikapism.
There we go. Perfect. So those are the first 4 months. Those ones are pretty easy to remember. They all have specific names. It's the ones in the middle that usually confuse me because when you get May, June, July, August. So again, everybody say for May, say Sagipagaw pi sim. Sagipagaw pi sim. Meaning the budding moon or the leaf budding moon. This is when you start to see the buds come back on the trees for the new leaves. Sagipagaw pi sim, usually sometime in May is when we have the budding moon. And again for June, everybody try to say Paska wihui pi sim. Paska wihui pi sim. So that one's kind of a longer word. Paska wihui pi sim. And that one just means the hatching moon. When all the new eggs for some of the birds, they start to come out and hatch, and they start to have their little babies, the hatching moon. Paskowihuipi sim. And the next moon, everybody say Paskopi sim. Paskopi sim. And this one means the molting moon. And molting is like when like birds start to lose their feathers and grow new ones. Basically, that's when they start to kind of lose their feathers. You'll find feathers laying around. This is when it's good to go out and for nature walks because you can find eagle feathers or hawk feathers a lot in this during this month, July. Paskopism, as this is when they're molting most times. And the last one for August, everybody say opahopism. Opahopism. And this one just means the flying up moon. So it just means they're flying up. This is when they kind of start taking their flight. You know, the baby birds, they start kind of taking their first flight. This is when you'll see a lot of birds basically flying around, but more so it's indicating, you know, they get hatching, they get their new wings, the molting, they grow their wings. By the time August comes, those baby birds, they should be starting to fly up. Opahopism, opahopism, the flying up moon. So with that one now, I want to see Philip Mather. I hope I didn't say your name wrong. I'm sorry. Philip Mather. Is that how you say it?
That's good. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, okay. Now say May. Say Sagipagaw Pisim.
Sagipagaw, sorry. Sagipagaw Pisim.
Yeah, say Paskawihui Pisim.
Paskawihui Pisim.
Yeah, say Pasko Pisim.
Pasko Pisim.
Say Opaho Pisim.
Opaho Pisim.
Yeah, so those four are your 4 middle months: May, June, July, August. And these are the ones that I always kind of had a little bit of a problem remembering, you know, just from memory, is because they are longer words. But that was good. You said them good. So now the last 4, like I said, we're running through these pretty quickly because I want to get to the other slideshow. So we'll just end off with these last 4. I think I have some other stuff on here. If we do have time, yeah, we'll have some other stuff I wanted to try to do. But if we have time, another class, we can always come back and look at this. Because like I said, we follow some sort of schedule, but if we have time, we can always come back and check out all the other stuff. So the last one, well, September, everybody say Nochitopi Sim. Nochitopi Sim. Which means the mating moon. This is more so talking about like moose. In September, this is when you're not supposed to hunt moose at all, because this is when they're mating. You know, the males are looking for the females and they're mating. That's why you shouldn't be shooting any kind of moose during September, is because this is when the males have to go out and do their part, you know, and go and get the new babies, go and get some new moose out there. Because if you shoot a male moose during September, you're cutting off that line, eh? Like, you got to make sure September, that's when the moose, you're not supposed to really touch them at all, whether they're, you know, a male moose. And a female moose, you're not supposed to shoot ever at any time. You're not supposed to hunt female moose ever, because there's so little amounts of moose. They're not great numbers like deer or like elk in some cases. Moose are really tiny in numbers. So even when you shoot, you know, a female moose, that could take out 10 years, 10 generations of, you know, babies that are going to fill up that, you know, the population. So shooting a female moose, it's something that you should never do, you know, you never shoot a female moose. You could shoot the males, of course, but Nochitopism in September is when moose are like hands off because they're mating at that time. Nochitopism. Next time or next month, say Pimahaupism. So of course, October right now, Pimahaupism, the migrating moon. This is when you'll start to see, especially the geese. This is talking more so about the geese and stuff. They start to fly away and they don't come back. You know, they're starting to move, especially, well, right now it's kind of warm. You know, some of them are still hanging out around Wascana, still hanging around the lakes and stuff. But soon enough, I think by the end of this month, it's going to get kind of chillier. So they might be starting to move at that time. But Pimahaupism is the most regular time you'll see those geese start flying up and migrating. Pimahaupism. And everybody now, November, say Ikopiuipism, Ikopiupism. It's like saying Ikopiu, Ikopiu, Ikopiupism. And all this means is just that it's freezing up. This is when things start to freeze up. Ikopiupism, November, the freeze up moon, when things start to freeze up. But my very favorite month to say in the Huewin, Pawachikanasisapism, Pawachikanasisapism. it's kind of a longer word, but it has a flow to it, you know. So that's what we say. Everybody try to say pawa chikana si sapi sim. Pawa chikana si sapi sim. Which of course just means December, but I like the literal translation of it is the frost exploding moon. It's when things start to get so cold, like the trees and the lakes, that they start making really big cracking sounds. Like trees will start to make cracking and popping sounds. The lakes will start to make cracking and popping sounds. That's what that's talking about. When things are so cold, they just start kind of cracking and popping during this time, especially lakes. You'll hear big cracks and pops from frozen lakes. Rolene, is that how you say your name? I'm sorry. Asani. I like the last name now. Rolene Asani. I want you to help me say these last 4 months here.
Okay.
How? So say Nochitopi sim.
Nochichopisim.
Pimahaupi sim.
Pimahaupisim.
Ikopiopi sim.
Ikopiupisim.
Now right here, this long one, it's kind of like saying Pawachigana sisapi sim.
One more time.
Pawachigana sisapi sim.
Baka wow chiki kan
So again,
no
say this, say Pawa
wow
Chigana
chigana.
sisapi sim.
No.
No. Try say sisapi sim.
Say it again.
Sisapi sim.
No, I'm not gonna say it right.
Again, say P sim.
Pisim.
Say sisapi sim.
See. I can like it's in my brain, but it's not gonna come out the way I want it to.
Yeah, Pawachigana sisapi sim. Try it one more time. Pawachigana sisapi sim.
Baka wow G C sim.
Sisapi sim.
Sissipi sim.
There we go. Yeah, sisapi sim. Yeah, that's a hard one. It's the longest one out of there. Pawachigana sisapi sim. But you see, when we're talking about the months, that was good. Thank you, Rolene.
Uh-huh.
And we had, is your last name Asani? Is that your real last name?
Stone.
Stone. Okay, yeah. I was thinking that stone or rock. I thought it was in Cree. I was like, oh, that's cool. I have a cousin named Asani too. I have a cousin named Maika and cousin named Asani. None of them. I don't think any of them speak Cree though. But you'll see that when we're talking about the months, like I said, each one has a specific meaning. You know, the great moon, the hatching moon, the migrating moon. They all talk about different occurrences that happen within that time. So best way to learn these, for example, is take it month by month. Take it month by month. Right now we're in October. Pimahaupisin. Practice saying October, maybe once a week or try to say it a few times a day. Pimahaupisim so that you can remember it. So that when you get to November, you can just start practicing the next month. And this will be provided, I think they already sent it to you guys, the learners, by the organizer. So they're good. They're right on top of that, being able to send everything out. So that is what I wanted to do really quickly for the first little half of the class. Now I want to get back into, just got to put them out. I have to try to find it now. Show all windows. There we go. Now we're going to move on into what I call location words. Location words. They are called something a little bit different, but I just call them location words because that's what they do. But before we actually talk about location words, the words that we're going to be looking at for in Nihilewin is that we have to talk about what gender is. Gender, in just a normal sense is, of course, just talking about somebody's gender, whether they're male or female. But when we're talking about gender in regards to, language, it means something different. So we have many words in Hiiwewin that suggest the location of something or someone that are useful to learn in speaking about different items. So when you want to talk about something like, this computer, that phone, those men. We use those different kinds of location words, this, that, those. In English, we also use those in Cree. But before we are introduced to those kinds of words, this, that, we must understand what gender is and how it relates to nouns, which is what we're going to be talking about. Gender, in regards to language, is not relating to the physical gender of a noun, but it is the way that we classify them. It's the way that we view nouns. That's what gender is talking about, how we look at nouns. So the gender system in Nihiwewin is based on what we call animacy. So how we view nouns in Nihiwewin based on animacy. That means that every single noun in Nihiwewin is either living, animate, or non-living, inanimate. There's only two types of nouns. We have living nouns and we have non-living nouns. So this can be, fairly simple. You would think, of course, all living things, of course, are living, all people, all animals, birds, bugs, things like that. Anything that's living in English is, of course, living in Cree. And what you would think, all things that are not living in English are not living in Cree. In English, we actually have 4 different types of, gender. Our gender system is based on 4 different things. It's based on masculine nouns, feminine nouns, what we call common nouns, and neuter nouns, all used differently. In Cree, we only have 2 types of nouns, living and non-living. So it does make it a little bit simpler, but you'll see that this type of system appears simple at first glance. Like I said, living things are living, non-living things are not. Seems easy enough. But in some cases, we have nouns that are considered animate when they are actually inanimate in English. So for example, meteamin, everybody say that, meteamin. Meteamin is a strawberry. So a strawberry is inanimate, it's not living. As it is in English, we don't think of a strawberry as living, as being something alive. But in Cree, ayoskan, say that, ayoskan. Ayoskan is a raspberry. And in Cree, a raspberry is considered alive. It is considered animate. We view it as living. So there are many other nouns in the Nihiwewin that we do consider alive without actually being living. So I'll show you an example. Before we move on, I want to show you what I mean. There's also, I gave Word documents to the organizers, which they'll give out. But here's a good list of what different kinds of nouns I gathered. Find them in Nihiwewin by Solomon Rat. That's a really good resource if you're wanting to learn Cree. We have a good list of nouns here, both animate nouns on the left side here and inanimate nouns. But if you look at the animate noun side, like for example, a pair of pants, metas, is considered living. Astis, a mitt or a glove, like a winter mitt, astis is considered living. Achapi, a bow, like a bow and arrow, a bow is considered living. A car is considered living. They're all animate. Even your sock, a sock is considered living. Like, I don't know why maybe if you wore it long enough, maybe then it would be considered living, kind of stinky. But there's no kind of rhyme or reason sometimes, there's no big real reason sometimes behind why things are living. To say car, we say que país, say que país, say que país. It's like saying say que país. Oops, kind of messing things up. Say que país. That is a car. Say que país. So this is a good list to give you a good idea what I mean by inanimate and animate nouns, and how some animate nouns in Cree are actually, we don't see them as living in English. Like, we don't think a car is alive, but in the Nihiwewin, we do. A raisin, so manis. We don't really think of a raisin being alive, but in Cree, we do. And this is really important to know because as we move on, for example, with our location words, you're going to see that understanding animacy is important when learning the Hiwewin because the animacy of the noun, whether it's living or non-living, will decide many words that are used accompanying it, such as our location words. So let's look at this little list below here, and you'll see that we have two different forms of the same word. One used for animate nouns and one used for inanimate nouns. So on the most left column here, we have the English translations, you know, this, that, over there. When the noun is animate, we end up using the middle column. We say awa, this, ana, that, naha, that over there. Compared to when the noun is inanimate, we use the most right column. We say oma, anama, nema. So knowing the animacy of your noun, whether it's living or non-living, is really important because it'll decide which words you use, you know, whether you use the animate forms or the inanimate forms. But I want some people to try say these real quick with me. Vanessa, Gordon, Matewicha Hin. Are you shy? I think she might be too shy. Samantha Lewison, Matewicha Hin, help me with these ones. I want you to say these location words with me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so say this with me. Say awa,
Awa,
ana,
ana,
naha,
naha,
oma,
oma,
anama,
anama,
nema.
nema.
So you work with little children. You work with children, eh?
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
and 4 year olds.
Yeah, so this will work perfectly because these are really simple words to learn. You know, if you want to say this thing right here, awa, or oma, and most things I would think, you know, they're toys, they're crayons, things like that. They would all be inanimate. So oma right there, that's a good word to start to integrate into your, even just saying oma in the middle of an English phrase, pop it in there. Yeah, that's perfect.
Awesome.
No, that was good.
Okay.
One more person. Let's see. Hilda. Matewicha Hin, Hilda. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that's good. Hilda, say this. Say awa,
Awa,
ana,
ana,
naha.
naha,
That's the animate form. Say now oma,
oma,
anama,
anama,
nema.
nema.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So like I said, this top line right here means this, like this thing, this one. But depending on the animacy of that noun, whether it's living or non-living, you will use different forms. So for example, we can create simple sentences pairing the above location words, these ones, awa, oma, and so on, with the appropriate nouns. Like ospwagan. Everybody say that. Ospwagan. Ospwagan. So ospwagan is a pipe, but it's a ceremonial pipe that you use like for pipe ceremonies, that you use for ceremony. And that's kind of the reason why it is animate, is because it's a cultural item. It's used for culture. And you'll see lots of items like that that are used in culture-wise. Most times are animate. Not all the time, but most times. Ospwagan is one that is animate. It is a ceremonial pipe. Compared to, now everybody try to say this. This is a good word to learn. Say we pichaganis. Say we pichaganis. Again, one more time. Say we pichaganis. So Sewe Pichaganis is a cell phone. It's a new word. We had, of course, we didn't have cell phones back in our TP days. We weren't able to send selfies to our cousins, you know. We probably send them through smoke signals somehow, but we didn't have our cell phones like we do today. So Sewe Pichaganis is a word that we kind of had to make up. We had to create cell phone, Sewe Pichaganis, and almost everybody has one. So that's why it's a good word to learn, Sewe Pichaganis. But you'll see cell phone is inanimate. So when we're talking about them, for example, in this translation form, if I want to say this is a pipe, I have to say ospwaganawa. Ospwaganawa. So everybody say that. Ospwaganawa. If I want to say that is a pipe, again, we have ospwagan, our noun, the pipe. All we're changing is that location word, ana. Just like in our list back here, you know, awa, ana. We're just changing that word. But because ospwagan, a pipe, is living, we have to use that middle column only, the animate location words, awa, ana, naha, when we're talking about the pipe. So again, everybody say ospwagan ana. Ospwagan ana. So that's how we say that is a pipe. And if you want to say that is a pipe, but over there, it's like farther away. This is what that word's indicating. Naha. Naha is showing us that it's farther away. It's kind of a distance away. So everybody say ospwagan naha. Ospwagan naha. So you can do this with any animate noun. All you have to do is replace the actual, you know, ospwagan, the word for pipe, with the different noun that is also animate. You keep the same location word there, awa, ana, naha. The only thing that's going to change when you want to change, you know, the noun itself is ospwagan. So for example, try to replace the word ospwagan from above with the other nouns that I have here to create a similar kind of sentence. So sagak, everybody say that, sagak. Sagak, of course, is a skunk. Just a little skunk, sagak. That's how we say skunk in Cree, sagak. If I wanted to say, for example, this is a skunk, I would just replace ospwagan with the word for skunk. So that's what I want somebody to try to do for that whole list that we have right there. Instead of saying ospwagan, replace that word with sagak, the word for skunk. Nordica, is that how you say her name? That's a cool name. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Nordica?
Yeah, it's Nordica. Thank you.
Oh, that is deadly. Nordica. So like I said, what you're going to do is you're going to replace ospwagan, the word for pipe, with the word for skunk. You're going to keep the same exact words, but do it for the three. Awa, ana, naha. Okay, go. Show me what you got.
Oh, all right. Sigag awa. Sigag ana. Sigag naha.
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 Yeah.
Sagak,
So when you
naha.
when we say sagak awa, what does that translate to now? Sagak awa.
Sigag awa. That means this is a skunk.
Yeah, this is a skunk. Easy. All you're doing is replacing that noun. It's kind of hard to do right now because I don't want to mess up the graphic. But no, that was perfect. Sagak awa, sagak ana, sagak naha. All you're doing is switching that noun. Everything else is staying the same. Perfect. Good job. Let's see. Cheyenne, mate wichihin. Do you have mic or are you shy? Are you too shy? If you're shy, just say it. If not, I will pick somebody else. Let's see.
Did you choose Betty Ann?
Betty Ann, are you Betty Ann?
Yes.
Yes, yes, I will choose you, Betty Ann. Now, what I want you to do is say the same exact thing, but instead of sagak and ospwagan, replace that word with the word for paddle, apoy.
Apoy?
Yeah, so now say replace that and use it for all three. Awa, ana, naha. Egwa.
Apoy awa. Apoy ana. Apoy naha.
There we go. Yeah, so if we said apoy ana, what does that mean? Ana, apoy ana.
That is a paddle.
Yeah, perfect. That is a paddle. How about apoy naha?
That is a paddle over there.
Yeah, over there. Perfect. Yeah. So that's all we're doing. How would you say this skunk? You would put the demonstrative or the location word on the other side of the noun.
Sagak.
Awasagak. This skunk. Dr. Philip was asking that. How would we say this skunk? If you want to make it in that kind of translation, you know, this thing, this skunk, this pipe, all you're doing is taking that location word and putting it on the other side. You're making it the first word. So for example, ospwaganawa means this is a pipe. If I wanted to say this pipe, awaspwagan, this pipe. So that's something that you'll see. Word order in that way makes a difference. How? Now we have maskwa. Maskwa, of course, is our bear. Maskwa. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Sorry, somebody's asking me something. Now I'll ask. Let's see. Colleen. Matiwitsuhin. It's good to see you. Tapos mo asinto pamitan. Kinanas kumitin kape tagutin. Thank you for coming to join us. So what I want you to do is do the same thing. Instead of saying ospwagan, you're going to replace that noun with maskwa for all three forms. Egwa.
Okay. Maskwa awa. Maskwa ana. Maskwa naha.
There we go. Yeah. Maskwa naha. What does that mean?
That bear over there.
Yeah. How about maskwa awa?
I'm gonna put my glasses on. Maskwa awa.
Oh,
This
you're doing
bear.
Yeah, you're doing a bingo squint. That's okay. Maskwa awa. No, that's good. Yeah. Colleen's a good Cree speaker. She's a good learner, good student. So it's good to see you,
Thank you.
Colleen.
You too.
Yes, that's perfect. How? So that's when we're talking about animate objects. You know, a skunk is animate. A bear is animate because they're animals, you know, they're living. But you'll see a poi, like a paddle for a canoe, is considered living. It's considered alive. So that's why we have to put it in this kind of form. Now look at what we're going to do with inanimate objects. So for example, sewe pichaganis, a cell phone, like we said, is inanimate. Because of that, we use different location words. All of a sudden it becomes oma, anama, nema, compared to awa, ana, naha. So sewe pichaganis oma, this is a cell phone. Sewe pichaganis anma, that is a cell phone. Sewe pichaganis nema, that is a cell phone over there. So again, what I want you guys to do, maybe we'll just do two of these because I want to make sure that we get to the other stuff. I have some stuff to talk about in the towards the end. So I'll do muskamut and musoyas because moose meat is always good. Muskamut is a bag, so your muskamut is inanimate. Muskamut. Farley, mate wichahin. Same thing I want you to do is replace sewe pichaganis, the word for phone, with bag, and do it in all three forms now. Egwa.
It'll be Tetapoin Oma.
Oh, tetapuin oma for chair, yeah. How would we say?
Tetapoin Anima.
Yeah, tetapuin anma, and the next one.
Tetapoin Nima.
There you go. So when we say tetapuin anima, what is that translating to in English? Tetapuin anima.
That is a chair.
Yeah, how about tetapuin nema?
That is a chair over there.
Yeah, perfect. There we go. So yeah, making these kinds of sentences, really simple sentences. But you'll see that this more so helps us to understand what animacy is and also gives us these location words. Oma, anma, nema. Now I want to do musoyas. I'll have somebody say musoyas. Let's see. Jada, matewitsuhin. What I want you to do, same thing. You're going to take musoyash, the word for moose meat, and you're just going to replace sewe pichaganis with musoyas for all three forms. Egwa.
Sorry, can you say that again? I'm just having trouble with that word.
Musoyas.
Suya.
Yeah, musoyas.
Masuyas.
Now put it in all three forms here. Musoyas.
Masui. That's my sister. Masuyas oma. Masuyas anima. Masuyas nima.
There we go. Yeah. So when we say musuyas oma, what does that translate to? Musuyas oma.
This is moose meat.
Yeah. How about musuyas nema
That is moose meat
over there?
over there.
Yeah, you got to make sure extra lip pointing too when you say nema. Nema over there. You got to make sure you point your lips just far. Musuyas nema way over there. So that's moose meat, and it's funny because of course muswa. A moose is living. You know, the word for moose, living. But when we cut up the moose and make moose meat, now it is non-living. So that's what you'll
Okay.
see. Moose, yeah, cut it down, the moose meat, yeah, now it's non-living.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. No, that's perfect. Good job. So those are the location words, the real basic ones. But you'll see, depending on the animacy of the noun, whether it's an inanimate noun or an animate noun, you have to be very, you have to know the animacy of the noun first. But like I said, any person, any animal, doesn't matter if it's a bird or a bug or anything, any kind of animal, anything that is alive in English will be alive in Cree. But we've seen that, for example, like apoy, a paddle. Of course, that's not alive in English. We don't see it as living, but in Cree, it is living. We view it as being a living object. So because of that, we have to act as if it's a living thing by using these words, awa, ana, naha, and vice versa. Inanimate nouns take different words. So the previous words that we looked at dealing with locations, like I said, the inanimate forms, oma, anma, nema, and the animate forms, awa, ana, naha. These have to be used in relation to the noun's animacy. But there are other kind of location words like we see here that do not rely on animacy, like ota, ote, egota, egote, neta, nete. They could be used with inanimate or animate nouns and mean the exact same thing. Here, there, over here. Doesn't matter whether the noun is living or non-living. These ones don't matter. You can just put them in there. Would the moose meat be animate when you pick it up and consume it? No, it just stays inanimate. It's kind of funny because even when we're talking about something, for example, I'll pull up this real quick, because not only does animacy affect these kinds of words, the location words, but they also affect our verbs. So talking about moose, for example, moose meat and moose in general, moose what is a moose? Of course, it is living. It is an animal. Whereas musuyas, moose meat, is non-living. As soon as it gets cut up, and becomes moose meat, yeah, it just also becomes non-living. And you'll see that when we're talking about, like, I can say, ninote mi chin musuyas. I want to eat moose meat. Oh, oops, I put two there twice. I want to eat moose meat. No, chair will always be, anything that is animate or inanimate will stay in its animacy form. Doesn't matter what we do to it. A chair will always be inanimate 24/7 and vice versa. Like moose meat will always be inanimate. But you'll see, like, what here when we're going into verbs, ninote mi chin musuyas. That's how you say, I want to eat moose meat. Ninote mi chin musuyas. Everybody try to say that. Say, ninote mi chin musuyas. Yeah, I want to eat moose meat. But when you're trying to say, I want to eat moose, like I want to eat a moose, kind of sounds funny in English. But if we were to say that in Cree, you can tell the difference through this. Oh, oops. I'm missing a part on there. Ninote moao. Ninote moao moose. I want to eat, moose or moose just in general. In English, this never changes. I want to eat. I want to eat. They're both exactly spelled, said the same. I want to eat. It's only the noun that is changing. Moose meat compared to like moose in general. But because Cree, Nihioewin, is based on animacy, whether we're, the thing is living or non-living, the words change. Ninote michin, ninote moao. Ninote michin, used for inanimates. Ninote moao, used for animates. So that's the same thing what's happening with our location words. We use different words depending on the animacy. And when we move forward more into verbs, you'll see a lot of this happening. But that's just a little taste of what we can do with the language. Oops. Now I was here. So like I was saying, some other location words. Bye. You just said bye. Okay. Because I teach at First Nations University, and I teach based on animacy and inanimacy. That's how we teach at First Nations University. We have to base our teachings based on the gender system of Cree. The chair was a topic. Yeah, chair. Yeah, chair is inanimate. It will be inanimate. We use inanimate forms for it and stuff. Sorry, somebody's sending me direct messages. Reason being, blah blah. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know who's teaching you. Come take my class, then I'll help you understand it. Just kidding, now. So like I said, these words ota, ote, egota, egote, neta, nete, those ones, they do not rely on animacy. You can use them whether you're talking about an animate object or an inanimate object. You don't need to follow any kind of special rule. So we can use these words to make sentences like, for example, ospagan oaota. This is a pipe here. Or ospagan ana egota. That is a pipe there. So it just gives extra location. Do I teach any? I'm teaching an online class next semester for First Nations University, a 100 level class. I only teach 100 because I don't have my master's yet, so I'm not able to teach higher classes. But I know that I'm able to. I just don't have the letters behind my name that University of Regina wants in order for me to teach those higher classes. So sorry, people are. It's good you guys are asking questions, though. That's what we need. So we can use these kinds of words, ota, ote, with our location words that we just learned here, awa, ana, naha. Like we've seen, ospagan, awa, ota. This is a pipe here compared to, a different form, ospagan, ana, egota. That is a pipe there. And all you have to do, again, if you want to try practice, yeah, I'm getting my master's. I'm doing my master's right now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they won't let me teach my own language. They don't think I'm qualified enough because I don't have special letters behind my name, which I understand. So let's see, we're kind of 5 minutes. Holy, see, we have fun. It goes by too fast. So this stuff, you'll be able to kind of do the same thing that we did with these ones. All you're doing is replacing that noun, ospagan, say by pichagans, with the words below that I provide. So for example, on this one, if I wanted to create this kind of translation, this is a pipe here. Ospagan awa ota. If I wanted to say that is a pipe there, ospagan ana egota. And if I want to say that is a pipe over there, like farther, ospagan naha neta. So now we have two kinds of location words in play, which does kind of change the translation. Here, there, farther over there. So all you're going to do is replace that ospagan, the noun, with the provided nouns that I have there, like chiste, mao, tobacco, acha, bee, bow, pursue, a bobcat, or a lynx. Do I teach private classes? Not so much. No, I teach I also teach an online class every Monday for another friendship center in Regina, but I can give that maybe in next class because we have 4 minutes. So I want to make sure that we get to the end of this. Or actually, if you have questions after the class, I can answer them at that time. So like I said, with this one, all you're going to be doing is replacing that noun, ospagan, with the nouns that provided it. You'll see chistemao, tobacco, is considered living. It is animate. So we have to use awa. We have to use ana. Though we have to use those animate words when we're talking about tobacco, as if it's a living person. Same thing with achapi, a bow, like your bow and arrow. That is considered living as well. So all you're going to do is be replacing those nouns with the following ones below. I missed. Oh yeah, I can do it. And then the same thing goes for the inanimate forms. But like I said, those second words, ota, ote, egota, egote, neta, nete, they do not rely on animacy. So you don't need to really switch them. The only reason I switched them right here is because you'll see the difference in between the two. You know, ota means here, whereas ote means over here. Egota means there, whereas egote means over there. When those words end in that long E, they bring in that one English word like over here, over there but farther. Ote, egote. Yeah, I think the recording will be sent out. So that's what I want you guys to try to do in your own time, and maybe when we get back next week, we'll be able to look at this more in depth. And also, I just have these extra location words that you can just say by themselves to translate to that. For example, if somebody's asking you where something is, like you can say, how do you say this is my pipe? Oh, you're close. That's good. There's a T that gets put in there. Nitospuagan, like this. Nitospuagan. Oh, whoops. I accidentally sent that directly to somebody. Sorry. Here we go. I'm writing it out now. Nitospuagan. This is my pipe. Because we can't have two vowels together, you can't have two vowels sitting beside each other. You'll never see that in Korea, actually. There's that T that is placed in the middle. Nitospuagan. Nitospuaganawa, to separate those vowels. Nitospuaganawa. This is my pipe. Nitospuaganawa. That's good. That's cool. And these are good words to know. Sipa, takuch, chapsis, ispamik, nichaik, namachik, kitинскейk, pitogamik, waiwitamik, and kisawak. To just like answer basic questions in Cree. Like people are asking you, you know, they can say, well, like, where's your brother? Where's your sister? You can say ispamik, upstairs. You know, they can say, oh, where's the dog? Waiwitamik, outside. You know, where's shoes? Sipa, you know, they're under. You know, for example, the table. I could say sipa table, since we don't know the word for table yet. Not we're going to be learning that soon. I can say sipa table, they're under the table. So that's what these words are used for. You can just say them by themselves most time, they'll be understood. And for now, it's good to just learn these ones because they're simple to say, simple to remember. The best way to do that actually is flashcards. You know, flashcards are your best friend when you're learning a language because you can have them anywhere. You can put them in your pocket. You can, you know, have them in your backpack. You can just keep them by your desk. Then when you have a minute or two within the day, maybe on your break or, you know, you can flip through them and practice saying some of these or practice starting to internalize some of these location words. But next week, we're going to finish up from right here. We're going to come back to these and we'll talk more about these sentence examples and a little bit more in depth in practicing some of these location words. So that's okay because, yeah, 8 o'clock. It is 8 o'clock now. So I thank you guys all for coming. It's always good fun doing this. Always good fun. And I know sometimes I try to keep it simple. I don't try to say how I learned the language was using really specific words like demonstratives, like locatives, like all these different kinds of words. I don't like really using those in these kinds of classes. So that's why I just say, the location words, or I just talk about, rather than talking about what their names are, I give actual examples of how they're used and so on. So like I said, next time we meet, we'll practice more on these last 3 slides before we move on into our next topic. But does anybody have any questions before we're all out of here? Anybody need anything? Anybody have any questions?